So, following on from what Dr. David Lewis has been teaching here on the Mind Changers YouTube channel around mastering your memory. So, David's been going through this DVD series of his that he made on mastering your memory, which has Dr. David Lewis taking you through various aspects of improving your memory. And it also has some bits with Dominic O'Brien in, where Dominic O'Brien shares and demonstrates applying some of the techniques. So David's been taking you through that series. What I thought could be interesting is that obviously on the DVD, and so on the videos David shares, you've got Dominic O'Brien, who is a world memory champion, going through memorising things like playing cards. And so I thought to myself, well, I'm a normal kind of nobody. I'm not particularly good at visualising. I'm probably like an average person. And so maybe, rather than it being a world memory champion saying, here's how to do this, and here's me doing it, if I do it, then talk you through, demonstrate myself doing this, and then talk you through what I'm doing, then, and what I've done, then perhaps that would be helpful to people to see that just an ordinary person do this. And someone who, it's not like I regularly have people say, can I memorise a pack of playing cards? So this isn't something I do frequently. This isn't something that I'm particularly good at in terms of it's not like I can literally flick through the cards rapidly and then have them memorised. I have to take my time over it. And one of the reasons for that is because I really struggle with visualising, like having something, any kind of, when I have my eyes closed and I try and visualise, everything is just black. I don't really see anything other than that. I can recall 3 times in my adult life. So when I was a child, things were different. I've talked about that a lot on other videos, but as an adult, I can recall 3 times when I have had some kind of visual experience inside my head. Once was sitting on the beach, just listening to a Paul McKenna self-hypnosis CD. There was nothing special about the CD compared to any of the other Paul McKenna CDs I've ever listened to, and I've also listened to hundreds of other hypnosis, self-hypnosis CDs from Paul McKenna and from lots of other different people. Nothing particularly special about it, but I was sitting on the wall on the seafront when I lived in Bognor Regis, and while I was sat there, just kind of in my own mind, I've got the sun on me, I've got people walking backwards and forwards on the promenade there, I suddenly saw things in my mind, like as if there was some visual imagery there of what Paul McKenna was talking about. And I can't remember which specific CD it was, but I remember at the time thinking, oh, that was incredibly cool. The fact that I actually, with my eyes closed, saw visual images. That's what I hear other people talk about that they can do. And I kept trying to listen to that same CD to try and replicate it. Never got the experience again from that CD or any other CD. And now it's like 20 years later and I can't remember the exact CD it was, because I do have a lot of different self-hypnosis tracks of Paul McKenna's and of other people. Another one of my experiences was just as part of a NLP practitioner training course when I was learning to be an NLP practitioner in about 2002. There's an exercise you do where you are told to imagine a kind of inner experience, and then you're told to change the sub-modalities. So the sub-modalities are things like how bright or dark something is. It's changing that kind of internal representation of it. And so the person sat opposite me while doing the exercise was saying, okay, now, so my eyes are shut and I'm just sat opposite them. There's no hypnosis or anything formally involved. There's just okay, close your eyes and imagine whatever it is. Close your eyes and imagine that countryside scene. So you've got your eyes closed, and then the person will say, okay, now just have a sense of turning up the brightness, and just see if that the idea is, see if that makes the emotions stronger or weaker. So you're trying to find some driver submodalities. Does that make the emotions stronger or weaker? So I'd be there thinking, okay, let's have a sense of I always talk about things as having a sense of, have a sense of turning up the brightness. Okay. Nope, the emotion's not much different. Okay, now turn that brightness back to normal. So you have a sense of turning it back to normal. So in reality, in my head, I saw nothing. There was just black. Then it was like, okay, now have a sense of turning up the volume and then turning it back down. Have a sense of turning things down and then turning them back up to normal. Have a sense of getting rid of all the colour if it's black and if it's black and white, or in my case, if I have a sense that it's black and white. Try adding colour. Does that make the emotion stronger or weaker? Try draining the colour away. Does that make the emotion stronger or weaker? Try being associated into it rather than disassociated from it. So seeing it as if it's through your own eyes rather than seeing it as if it's on a TV. And then try the opposite. So if you were associated, try it disassociated. And so we were going through this, and most of the time I was just sat there responding verbally, just saying what I was kind of thinking. I have a sense that I think this is what's probably going on in my mind. So I would think, okay, so I'd kind of be almost trying to logically do this for myself. I'd be thinking, okay, so logically, let's turn up the brightness. Okay, I've got a sense of having a dial as if I'm turning up the brightness. And I was going through the motions, and I can't remember exactly what they said, but they said for me to make a specific change, and I made that change and physically moved myself back. I think it was like, I think it was making yourself associated into it. So disassociated, and then you're moving into it as if you're going from, like, you can see a TV screen in front of you to you're seeing it through your own eyes as if you're really there. And there was something in the image, I think like a tree or something, and when I associated into it, I physically moved back as if there was a tree there, and I got this sudden glimmer of almost clarity, for want of a better description. It wasn't like real world clarity, but of actually having something there and a tree being there, and making me think, oh, there's a tree there, and kind of flinching back from it. And again, I thought, wow, that was an incredible experience. And I've always, through everything I've done since, I've always thought, how can I capture that and make it so that I can have that kind of experience? And my third experience of actually doing something in my head where I'm visualising is where my best friend and myself used to hypnotise each other all the time, used to experiment with hypnosis. And I remember once being sat on the floor being hypnotised, leaning against a wall in his flat, and my eyes are closed, and then I just suddenly got this feeling like my eyes were open, like there was daylight. I was in his flat, I could see as if my eyes were open, exactly as I can see now. Literally, this is the clearest I've ever experienced anything in my mind. It was as if I was in real life with my eyes wide open, looking around his flat, seeing him hypnotising me, and just sort of sat there working with me and doing, sort of guiding me through stuff. And I was just looking around as if my eyes were wide open, but my eyes were closed. And as soon as I realised, hang on, my eyes are actually closed, why am I seeing this? I lost it. So I had a couple of seconds of this incredible lucid experience where what I was experiencing was as if my eyes were genuinely 100% just open right there, right then. And I was looking around and I was able to see what's going on. I was able to see my best friend hypnotising me. I was able to look over at the clock and see the time on the clock on his, like, the old-fashioned stereo things you used to get, the kind of fake sections. So from the front it almost looks like you've got the cassette tape section and a CD player section and a radio section and an amplifier section, but in reality if you look at the side it's one box. So it was a cheap fake, kind of looks like it's separate but it's not, it's just a cheap box. but it had a tiny little digital clock on it, and I was able to see that digital clock. And everything that I experienced and everything I saw at that moment seemed to match up with his description afterwards of exactly what was going on at that moment and at exactly what time that was. And obviously I may well have just been able to track time, from when I last knew the exact time. Maybe I could track time exactly. But that was an incredible experience, and I've, again, tried lots of times. No one hypnotises me nowadays, unfortunately, but I've tried lots of times to recapture that experience and try and work out how to induce that experience in myself, and if I can induce it in myself, then how I can then induce that in others, because I know there's a lot of other people that would love that kind of experience and kind of think that that's the experience that other people have, and yet I almost never encounter someone who's had that experience. They just think that that's the experience with hypnosis. They'll say, I don't think I was hypnotised, I didn't see what you were saying, I didn't have this big inner experience as if it's real to me. To me, that's like, well, I couldn't care less, because that's kind of normal. Is that not what most people's experience is? But I think everyone thinks that everyone else has this incredible inner experience, and that just hasn't been my experience with clients when I've asked them to one-to-one to describe the experience, and I haven't had that experience myself. So these glimmers for myself have been kind of points where I've thought I've got to try and figure out how to learn from that and be able to maybe recreate that, so that if I can do that for myself, so that I can on purpose recreate visualizing in my mind so realistically that it's like real life, maybe I can then help others to be able to achieve that for themselves. So they're the only 3 times. I kind of mentioned that because I think that could be interesting for people, but the visualizing thing, the importance behind mentioning that is that a lot of the techniques that you hear about and that are in what David is teaching and that Dominic O'Brien talks about involve visual memory. And so I know a lot of people will probably say, yes, but what if you don't really visualize when you close your eyes? You may get the odd flash of colour, the odd glimpse of something almost fleeting, but you don't visualize. And then there are people who have I can't remember the name of it, aphantasia, where you just can't see, you don't see things internally. So at the end of this video, I'll talk through exactly what I was doing while memorising these playing cards. I'll talk through the process of how myself, as someone who isn't particularly visualising, is creating that inner reality for myself so that I can do these techniques. And it takes longer, and it's something that I'm sure can be sped up with regular practice. This isn't something that I spend all my time practicing, because it's not like I very often get asked to recite packs of playing cards. Even now, I'm not being asked to, I'm volunteering to do this and hoping that it works. And hoping to do this all in one take. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take you through me memorising this pack of playing cards. I'll probably mumble to myself or whatever, but I'll probably just speed through all that on the video. I will speed up that chunk of video or else that would just be really boring, watching me mumbling to myself on camera, where I'm not specifically saying something to the camera. But I'll do it all in one take. I won't cut it and then jump and say, I have just memorised this. I will literally do it in one take so that you can see that nothing is cut. Then I will do the reciting stage, and I'll do that in real time, and it will just take as long as it takes, probably 10 minutes ish. I don't know how long it's going to take. It will depend how easily I'm able to be recalling them. Two issues I have. One issue I have is in everyday life generally. I really struggle with names and remembering people's names. So that does make the technique kind of inherently difficult, because as part of the technique, you are remembering something that you're going to associate with the playing card, and that's going to be names as part of what you're remembering. And so that part I find difficult, because I'm trying to run through even people. I have met people who I know very well and I can't remember their names. So that's something that I struggle with just generally in everyday life. And so that part of it, while doing this, I'm sure in the recall part, because in the remembering part I just kind of try and work it out, but in the recalling part, that's something I know I think I get a bit stuck on sometimes. The second thing, which kind of irritates me because it's a stupid thing in my head, it's something stupid to get stuck on, is suits. I really struggle. It's not what's in my head, it's what comes out my mouth that's the problem. So for example, it could be 6 of spades, and for whatever reason I'll say it as the 6 of diamonds because of the point. That's something about the diamond having points and the spade having a quite distinct point, although hearts technically have a point as well, but I think of the rounded bit. I end up having it that with diamonds and spades I often get them mixed up, and I'll sort of be thinking 6 of spades and I'll say 6 of diamonds, but I mean 6 of spades, and then I end up having to think, no, that's wrong, I mean this. This also happens during the remembering stage, where I'll look at the card and I'll remember it as the wrong card because I'll think of the wrong suit, and then later on I'll suddenly realise that at some point earlier on I had done that when I actually pull out that. So for example, it could be, as I've said, 6 of spades. It could be that I pulled out the 6 of spades, I remembered it as the 6 of diamonds, I then get the 6 of diamonds 3/4 of the way through the pack, and I think, oh no, that 6 of spades earlier, I remembered it as the 6 of diamonds. I think it was the 6 of spades I did that with, but I can't 100% remember. It could have been something else, but this is actually the 6 of diamonds. And I have to try and retrospectively fit that back into place, and obviously that then is difficult. So I have a few challenges with this, but I think it's helpful to tell you that, and because others who want to learn to do these sort of techniques will also probably think, oh, I have that challenge, and so hopefully it just means that you'll think, oh, that's okay, I'm not the only one, you can work around it, kind of thing. It's more about, this whole video is just trying to empower you to know that you don't have to be particularly good at any of this, you do have to put some work in to learn it, but it can be done even if you struggle with visual memory, even if you struggle with names and other bits of kind of remembering certain information or recalling certain information, even if you struggle with, like, you get, for example, I get my left and right mixed up. If someone asks me about something like a certain letter in the alphabet, I kind of have to go through A, B, C, D, F, G, and I have to go through from A to get to it. So there's going to be lots of other people who have those same kind of issues. I have those issues, and so I want to be able to say, look, I have those issues and I can achieve this, so can you. So what I'm going to do is I will get the cards out of here. This is a Darren Brown pack of playing cards from Theory 11. If anyone's interested, they also do a box set of a couple of playing cards and a letter and some other bits and pieces. So it's a Darren Brown pack of playing cards that was designed with Darren Brown. So I will go through these cards. So I'll just sort of, may as well, while I'm doing this, just for anyone who hasn't seen them, show off a little bit of what they look like. And you've obviously got the Joker and 2 of them, and just a blank one. So I will go through these cards. They will need shuffling again. They are already shuffled, as you can see, but I will shuffle them again anyway. So they are all normal. So I'll shuffle these cards, I'll memorise these cards, I will then recite the cards and show you them kind of after I've said them, kind of thing. And then I will go through them telling you what exactly I had remembered and what I had done to memorise the cards, literally from card 1. So if it was I think the 6 of spades is what we were just talking about randomly. If it was the 6 of spades, then I would say this is how I remembered the 6 of spades. This is how I remembered the King of Diamonds, the 6 of Hearts, etc. So I would go through telling you how I remembered the different cards. That'll probably take a longer chunk of the video, so anyone who's not interested obviously will click off by then, but anyone who thinks, yes, I want to know exactly what you did to remember those cards, that bit might be very interesting for you. So let's give this a go. So I'll just kind of shuffle these together. I'm just trying to make sure that they're all mixed in, so that whatever was at the front and the middles are kind of all jumbled up. So I will now set about memorising these cards. So hopefully these are now in reverse order, with the first card that was facing me when I was going through them being at the top, and the last card now being a sort of that, whatever that card is, that would have been the face down, the face up, last face up card I saw, if that makes sense. So I looked through the cards all face up, starting with this one and finishing with that one, and then I went back reviewing them, placing them down, so that the first card I looked at should now be at the top, just so that I can do this bit of being able to reveal them from the top of the pack without me being able to see them, rather than having to try and pull them out from the bottom of the pack, which is what I'd have to do if I had just flipped the pack over, if that makes sense. So the first card is 7 of spades, Queen of diamonds, Eight of hearts, Ten of spades, yeah, 5 of clubs, 5 of diamonds, King of clubs, Three of clubs, 9 of diamonds, Jack of spades, Jack of clubs. Let me just think about that for a second before I reveal it. Just to make sure I'm happy with that. So Jack of clubs. I think this is actually another Jack. Jack of hearts. Queen of hearts. Four of spades. I think it's the 8 of spades. Let me just work this out. 8 of spades. 9 of hearts. Jack of diamonds. Yep. King of diamonds. Six of spades. spades, 2 of clubs, 10 of diamonds, yeah, so just in case. I'm hoping it shows on camera, but just in case. Well, that's the plan. Nine of clubs, 8 of diamonds, 'King of spades, 8 of clubs, 3 of spades, 2 of spades, Queen of spades, ten of clubs, nine of spades, 6 of diamonds, 6 of hearts, 6 of, it's interesting, 3 sixes, we've had 3 jacks earlier as well, 6 of clubs. I didn't pick up on that when I was memorising them for some reason. Four of clubs. Let me just double check this in my mind. Four of clubs. Ace of spades. Seven of clubs. Seven of hearts. Five of hearts. Three of spades. Oh, okay, 5 of spades. So I've made a mistake. Let's try and think about what mistake I've made. it is exactly the card I thought it was. I've just misspoke. So I haven't got, in my head, I haven't got a card wrong in terms of what's left in the pack. That is the card that I thought it was. I just misspoke and said the wrong card when I said what card I thought it was. Didn't give enough thought before turning the card over. So that's my mistake. Then you've got the four of diamonds, two of diamonds, two of hearts, three twos. Lots of threes in here given it was shuffled, but then I suppose that's the whole point of a random order, that you get little random patterns. Then you've got three of hearts, ace of hearts. Thought I was wrong for a minute then. Ace of hearts, ace of diamonds, I think. Yep. Then you have the 10 of hearts, ten of hearts, three of diamonds, I think. Yeah. Seven of diamonds. Yeah. King of hearts. Four of hearts. Ace of clubs. Yeah. And the last one will be the queen of clubs. Yep. Queen of clubs. So let me just go through. I will put these back in order with the first one I saw on top. So I made one mistake there, the 5 of spades, and that mistake was a misspoken card. So that was a mistake in my revelation of the card. The card was exactly the card that I thought it was, although seeing it and knowing it's not what I said confused me for just a moment. And then when I worked out what card that was, it was correct. It was the correct card. It's just that I misspoke when I revealed it. I saw a memory champion guy talking about counting cards and saying, not counting cards, talking about memorising cards like this, and saying that it's actually harder to do it when you're doing it like this than it is to do it when you do it as part of a memory championship thing. Because as part of a memory championship, you get given a second set of cards. So you'd memorise that set, that would go there. You then get given a second set of shuffled whole 52 cards, and you then have to organise those 52 cards into the same order as the 52 that you've just memorised, so that then you'd go through and say 7, and then that pack should show 7, Queen, that pack should show Queen, etc. And so he was saying that when you do things like where you're trying to just instantly say this card is this card is this, and you may misspeak and missay a card, and that you know you got it wrong nearly straight away, but you've already revealed it, and it's I've revealed it now. What happens is that you do that, you order the cards, and then you can go through and double check, telling yourself your story as you do so, which I'll explain in a moment. And you would know, oh no, that's the wrong card. But also, because you're not having to verbally try and say what every card is, you end up choosing the right cards and putting the right cards in the right order. So that one where there was the 5 and I said I think like a 3 or something, everything would be in the right order. So that 1 5 would end up being in the right order by the fact that everything else is in the right order. So having one card left over, if I put the 3 in the wrong place, thinking it was the 3 instead, then I'd have a 5 left over, and I think, oh no, the 5 is that one because this is the 3, and so I would know at that point that that was supposed to be the 3. So in my head, I got 52 correct, but obviously out loud and on camera, I only got 51 correct, and one of them was wrong because I misspoke and said the wrong card, but it was the card I was thinking of. I just missaid what I was thinking of. It will kind of make sense as I go through this. So what I had done in my head, I have a memory palace that I'm using for counting, for going through working out the cards. The memory palace is parts of this flat that I live in. So from the front door, down the corridor, into the first bedroom, into my office, and so into the first bedroom, into the ensuite bathroom of the first bedroom, and into my office, and then over the corridor from my office into the bathroom, and then the final card, because there's 52 cards and you're memorising them in chunks of 3, the final card is in this room, in the living room, on that person is on their own. So I'm remembering cards in chunks of 3 as a person, action and object, which is a common card memorisation type of thing, and it's taught, it's been demonstrated on the Mastering Your Memory stuff. So I'm using the mind map to where to place the different bits that I'm talking about and thinking of. And then I'm using the first card is the person, the second card is the action of the person that card is associated with. The third card is the object associated with the person the third card is associated with. And then I'm just doing that running through all 52 cards. For me, I have diamonds are Star Trek characters. Hearts are predominantly family. There are some exceptions, but predominantly family and friends. Clubs are the Family Guy sort of main family, the Griffins, and a couple of other Family Guy characters, and they are also the Belcher family from Bob's Burgers. So that's clubs. And then what have I got left? Spades are Simpsons characters. I think that's all 4 suits. So going through these cards, 7 is Grandpa Simpson. So I was remembering, just inside the front door is Grandpa Simpson, and he is sword fighting. So I have Q from Star Trek, which is the Queen for Q. Q is sword fighting with a foil, so a sort of a sword thing. So I have Grandpa Simpson sword fighting, and hearts are predominantly family, but this specific heart is Harry Hill, the comedian, telling jokes on stage. So I have Grandpa Simpson sword fighting on a stage just inside my front door. That carries on to Reverend Lovejoy, and Reverend Lovejoy is shooting, because that card is Stewie from Family Guy, and he's got a rifle he's shooting. So Reverend Lovejoy is shooting some perspex. So 5 of diamonds is Spock saying, with his hand to the kind of perspexy window thing, saying, you always have been, always shall be my friend, or whatever it is he's saying. So that's Spock. So I'm remembering that just inside, so I have my front door, I have like a little shoe area there, and then a little bit further on I have a little coat area. So near the coat area is Reverend Lovejoy shooting perspex. So I then remembered that. After that is Cleveland Brown from Family Guy, and he is reading 7 of Nine's outfit. So Cleveland Brown is the king of clubs. He is reading, which is what Meg from Family Guy is doing. So Meg is the third character down in, I don't know 100% if this is correct, but it is in my system that Meg is the oldest of the kids in Family Guy. And so you've got Peter as the ace, Lois is the 2, Meg is 3, Chris is 4, Stewie is 5, and then you've got Bob is 6, which the 6 and the B are similar-ish. That's kind of my way of remembering. Bob is 6 from Bob's Burgers. Linda is 7 of clubs. 8 of clubs is then Tina. 9 of clubs is Jean. 10 of clubs is Louise. And then the Jack of clubs is Joe Swanson from Family Guy. Queen of clubs is Quagmire from Family Guy. And King of clubs is Cleveland Brown from Family Guy. So you've got Cleveland Brown is reading 7 of Nine's outfit. So 7 of 9, obviously 9 is from the Star Trek set. Then I progressed down my corridor to, I've got an airing cupboard. So I then open the airing cupboard. Inside the airing cupboard is Sideshow Mel. And Sideshow Mel, who is a Jack of spades, Sideshow Mel is wheeling along because the Jack of clubs is Joe Swanson in a wheelchair. So he's wheeling along on top of a PlayStation 5. So kind of using the PlayStation 5 as a wheelchair. So the Jack of Hearts is my brother Kit playing on a PlayStation 5. So play like a controller thing for PlayStation 5. So in the airing cupboard, I imagine a scene of Sideshow Mel essentially using a PlayStation 5 as a wheelchair. Then over the corridor, I have a cupboard, which I always just, when I'm running through this in my mind, I think of it as opening the closet in the corridor. So I have a cupboard in the corridor that's full of lots of junk. In there, for this run, I had a sense of Mum, who is the Queen of Hearts, and Mum was going with Dr. Hibbard's kind of laugh. I can't do that, but Dr. Hibbard's laugh at a cliff face. So that is Mum being the Queen of Hearts, Dr. Hibbard being the D, A, B, C, D, being the 4 of spades. So Queen of Hearts, 4 of spades, and the cliff face is that the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, the 8 of spades is Homer Simpson falling down a cliff. So the 8 of spades is Homer Simpson falling down a cliff. So it's Mum laughing like Dr. Hibbard at a cliff face. So that is Queen of Hearts, 4 of spades, and then the 8 of spades. So you've got Queen of Hearts, 4 of spades, 8 of spades. Then I continue kind of in my flat as a mind palace. I continue into the bedroom. And in the bedroom, just inside the bedroom door, there's a small little bit, kind of storage box thing that you can sit on, is Nan, my Nan, saying, "Beam me up, Scotty," which I know wasn't said, but it makes it more memorable by saying, "Beam me up, Scotty." My Nan is saying, "Beam me up, Scotty," while sitting in Jean-Luc Picard's captain's chair. So Nan is the 9 of hearts. So the N for Nan is N for 9. So Nan is the 9 of hearts. And Beam Me Up, Scotty is the Jack of diamonds, which is Captain Kirk, so James Kirk, and Jack of diamonds, Jack, James, both J. That's James Kirk saying, so Captain Kirk saying, "Beam me up, Scotty," into a communicator, the old school flip out communicators. And so, and then Picard is obviously the king. Picard is the king of diamonds. So that means that when I walk into the bedroom, the next cards are going to be Nan, so the 9 of hearts. It's then going to be, what is Nan doing? She's saying, "Beam me up, Scotty." So that's going to be James Kirk, James T. Kirk. So that is the Jack of diamonds. And she's in Patrick Stewart's chair. She's in Captain Picard's chair, which means that it's got to be the king of diamonds. So that's that. Then I walk to the ensuite bathroom, which if you just follow the room round, that's the next stop. Inside the ensuite bathroom is Frank Grimes, and Frank Grimes is actually driving around in a disgusting plate of Neelix's food from Star Trek Voyager. And so Frank Grimes from The Simpsons is F, A, B, C, D, E, F. So that is the 6 of spades, will be Frank Grimes. So that should be the 6 of spades. And he is driving around. So my character that drives, so the important thing is that every character has to, and this is kind of can get a bit confusing sometimes, if things are too similar. But every character has to have a distinctive, be a distinctive person, have a distinctive action and a distinctive object associated with them. So for me, Frank Grimes was the person in this case, and Frank Grimes is grabbing hold of the electrical cables. So that's the scene in The Simpsons where he goes, oh, Homer can do anything. Homer can do this, Homer can do that. Nothing ever bad happens to Homer. And then he grabs the electrical cables. So Frank Grimes grabbing the electrical cables is the three things that I have for him. So it's Frank Grimes. In this case, he is driving, and driving is Lois from Family Guy. So I just imagine her driving in a red kind of family saloon type car. So Frank Grimes is driving in a disgusting plate of Neelix's food. So Frank Grimes is the 6 of spades. Lois Griffin is the second one in the family of the Griffins, so that is the 2 of clubs, and the third card would be the 10 of diamonds, because the 10 of diamonds is Catherine Janeway from Voyager, and she's trying to eat some of Neelix's food that she's not finding particularly pleasant. It kind of looks weird. And so that is then the 10 of diamonds. When I come out of the bathroom and head back into the bedroom, on one side of the bed is a bedside table. And so I just use that location as something's happening there. So on that side of the bed is Gene Belcher saying, please state the nature of your medical emergency, standing in a pool of worms. So Gene Belcher is the... so you've got Bob's Burgers, Bob, Linda, then you've got Tina, Jean, Louise. So Bob is 6 of clubs, Linda is 7 of clubs, Tina is 8 of clubs, Jean is 9 of clubs. So it'll be the 9 of clubs for Jean, and Jean is saying, please state the nature of your medical emergency, which would be the holographic doctor from Voyager. So that is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. That's the 8 of spades. So Jean is doing the sort of saying of the holographic doctor. So the 8 of spades would be next. No, 8 of diamonds even. See, I told you I get my spades and diamonds mixed up. 8 of diamonds, Star Trek are diamonds, Simpsons are spades. But yeah, 8 of diamonds. And he is standing in a pool of worms. So there's a scene in The Simpsons, there's an episode of The Simpsons where Bart meets a guy who pranked worse than he did, and so Bart tracked down this worse prankster than him, and he got that guy a job working for Krusty the Clown. Krusty the Clown is diving off of a diving board into a paddling pool of worms, and so that's kind of my memory for Krusty the Clown. And Krusty the Clown is a K, so that's the king. So that's the king of spades, because spades are Simpsons. So you've got the king of spades, Krusty the Clown. Then on the bed is Tina from Bob's Burgers. Tina is the 8 of clubs. So that should be the 8 of clubs. Tina is saying worst brick wall ever. So comic book guy is the 3 of spades, A, B, C, C for comic book guy. Comic book guy is the 3 of spades, and which is why when I got the 3 of spades, I said that card is the 3 of spades, when actually it was the 5 of spades. I'd already used the 3 of spades correctly. I just made a mistake in what I was saying versus what I had thought the card was. So comic book guy is the 3 of spades, saying worst blank, whatever the next card is, ever. Brick wall, Bart graffitis on a brick wall. So 2 of spades is Bart Simpson graffitiing on a brick wall, graffitiing Alberto on a brick wall. And so for this, you've got Tina Belcher saying worst brick wall ever. So the action is the worst brick wall ever comment, and the brick wall is the object, Bart's object. So you've got Tina Belcher saying worst brick wall ever, which would be comic book guy, which is the 3 of spades, and the 2 of spades is Bart Simpson, AB, Bart Simpson. So 2 of spades. Next to the other side of the bed, so you've got one side of the bed has something going on the bed has something going on, other side of the bed has something going on. The other side of the bed is Sideshow Bob. And Sideshow Bob, which is the Queen of Spades, is wearing Ned Flanders' house as a hat. So Sideshow Bob is the Queen of Spades. There. The wearing is the action, and that wearing of wearing something on your head as the action, that wearing comes from Louise Belcher. So Louise wears her pink bunny ear hat. So the wearing is Louise Belcher. Louise Belcher is the youngest of the Belchers. That means that she's the 10 of clubs. So the wearing should be the 10 of clubs. And Ned Flanders, N9, would be the 9 of spades. Ned Flanders is saying "Hidely ho, good neighbour" on his doorstep, so of his house. So then it's the 9 of spades. Then opposite the bed is, so the next point around the route is a clothes cupboard thing, and inside there is Worf from Star Trek. That's the 6 of diamonds, and Worf is typing on a burger griddle. So the typing comes from Frank Herbert. So Frank Herbert is the A, B, C, D, E, F, the 6 of hearts. So Frank Herbert, 6 of hearts, is typing on a typewriter. So Worf is typing, so that's Frank Herbert, that's the 6 of hearts. On a burger griddle, that is the 6 of clubs, which is Bob, as in Bob's Burgers, Bob. So 6 of clubs. So this is also why I didn't realise 3 6s were in a row, because 2 of those 6, oh no, all 3 of those 6s actually were in that one. That's bizarre. But I was seeing every card as the name, action, object, etc. that it is. I wasn't seeing any of the cards as the actual face number or suit, face number or letter, like as in Jack, Queen, King. I was just seeing them as that's Bob, that's Linda, that's Sideshow Bob, that's Tina, that's Bart. I was seeing them like that. So that was Worf typing on a burger griddle, so sort of burning his fingers while he's typing on there. Then I come out of the closet, out of the kind of clothes cupboard, and we've got a TV in the bedroom next to the cupboard near the door to the bedroom. Near that TV is Chris from Family Guy, and Chris was saying "thank you, come again," as in Apu's saying, to a Christmas tree. So Chris is so you've got I think the fourth one down. So you've got Peter, Griffin, Lois, Meg, then Chris. So that would be the 4 of clubs. And Chris is saying "thank you, come again," which would be Apu, which is an ace for the A. And so that is the ace of spades. And the Christmas tree is Linda Belcher loves Christmas and loves decorating the Christmas tree, etc. So it's Linda Belcher decorating Christmas tree. So as it's the object I'm after, it's the Christmas tree. So that would then be the 7 of clubs. Then I walk out the door of the bedroom into my office, and in my office I have a set of clothes drawers next to the entrance to the room. And on there I imagine Graham, my best friend, unfortunately no longer with us, but Graham looking through a test paper. So this is the one I got wrong. The test paper is Edna Krabappel, which E is 5, A, B, C, D, E, so it should be the 5 of spades. For whatever reason I said 3 of spades, but I knew that that's what the scene was, that it was Graham looking through a test paper, using it like a telescope. So Graham is G, so that's A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's the 7 of hearts. Is Graham looking through? That is Edwin Hubble, astronomer. Edwin Hubble, and that is the 5 for E, A, B, C, D, E. That's the 5 of hearts. So it should be 5 of hearts for Edwin Hubble, and then 5 of spades for Edna Krabappel. So I should have obviously got this right because it's two fives in a row. So 5 of spades. Then on my computer desk in my office is data, which is the A, B, C, D. That's the 4 of diamonds. So that's data. Data was scanning with a pool cue. So scanning is Bones from Star Trek. So that is 2 of diamonds. I'm trying to remember which is Star Trek. 2 of diamonds. So it's 4 of diamonds, 2 of diamonds, and then the pool cue is my brother Ben, who plays pool, and so that Ben B 2. So that's a 2 of hearts. So it is data that is the 4 of diamonds, followed by scanning, which would then be Bones. So that is the 2 of diamonds, and scanning with a pool cue, which is my brother Ben, and so that is the 2 of hearts. And then over on my piano is Chris Hemsworth. So I had some of my heart ones. I couldn't think of people who I could fill them with, so I filled them with random people who I thought that kind of breaks it up and I'll remember it because it's out of place among the hearts. So Chris Hemsworth, who normally I think of Chris Hemsworth as lifting up a hammer for obvious reasons. So Chris Hemsworth is holding Riker's chair. So Riker to me is number 1, so he's an ace of diamonds. Riker is sitting, sort of spinning a chair around and sitting backwards on a chair. So for this one, and the holding is Abby holding a rose, which is the ace of hearts. So for this one, it is Chris Hemsworth, which is the C, so that's ABC, that's the 3 of hearts, holding, so that's the ace of hearts, Riker's chair, which I, in my head, just thought Riker will be sitting on the chair, holding Riker's chair, and so that would be the ace of diamonds. So ABC, Chris Hemsworth is the 3 of hearts, holding, so that's Abby, so that's the ace of hearts, Riker's chair, which would be the ace of diamonds, and then in the corner where I sit, where I make a lot of my videos in front of my bookcases, is another one of my brothers, Justin, and normally Justin is road running. So for me, Justin running on a road are the kind of person, action, object. So Justin is listening through Geordie LaForge's visor. So Justin is the 10 of hearts. He's listening through. So Beverly Crusher from Star Trek is listening through a stethoscope, because I'd already used Bones with a tricorder and the holographic doctor stating the nature of your medical emergency. So Beverly Crusher happens to have a stethoscope. I don't know if she's ever actually used one in Star Trek. Don't know what use particularly they might have for something primitive like that. So Beverly Crusher listening through a stethoscope. So listening is the action. So Beverly Crusher, ABC for Crusher, because Bones is B. So ABC for Crusher, and that's this C, that's the 3 of diamonds because it's Star Trek. So it is, did I say Justin? Yeah, so I've done Justin. So the C, so that's 3 of diamonds for Beverly Crusher. And Geordie LaForge is A, B, C, D, E, F, G is 7. So that is the 7 of diamonds. So for the visor, so you've got the 7 of diamonds. Then over in the bathroom, when you leave my office and head out to the corridor and then go over the corridor to the bathroom, in the bathroom is my granddad, which is the King of Hearts, and he is stirring. So my granddad is blowing across a flute. That's granddad's 3 things. He is stirring. I just had him kind of stirring in the bathtub. He's stirring, which is my dad, who is a chef. So my dad is stirring a pot of food. So that's the person, action, object. Granddad is stirring. So dad is the next one, which is D for dad. A, B, C, D. That's 4 of hearts. Stirring the bathtub with a giant chicken in the bathtub. And so ace of clubs is Peter Griffin fighting a giant chicken. So for Graham, I had to kind of differentiate this in my mind. Graham is Graham hypnotising a chicken, like a small standard chicken. Peter Griffin is fighting a human-sized bird, is how I remember it. So I kind of differentiate it in my head as I call one a human-sized bird, the other is a chicken. So that is the ace of clubs, which is the Peter Griffin card. And then that leaves me with one left over, which is then leaving the bathroom, walking into the living room, and in the living room is whatever the person left over is, which in this case is giggity giggity, it's Quagmire, which is the Q, the Queen of Clubs. So that's kind of me running through exactly what I was doing in my mind, memorising the cards, and then kind of how I placed them in a memory palace so that I could go around, follow a certain route, say in this location is this, in that location is that. And as I went around, I would stop at regular intervals, like every 4 in, to recap and say, okay, so to this point, what have I done? So, for example, I'd stop, open the airing cupboard, in there is Sideshow Mel wheeling along, like on a wheelchair, wheeling along on a PlayStation 5. So I'd get that far and then I think, okay, the one I've just done before that was Cleveland Brown. And Cleveland Brown is reading Seven of Nine's outfit. And so I think, right, so that's the step before. And then I think the step before that was Reverend Lovejoy shooting a piece of Perspex. The one before that, the start, was Grandpa Simpson sword fighting on a stage. So I'd kind of recount, think, right, so I've remembered that. I've gone from Grandpa, Reverend Lovejoy, Cleveland Brown, Sideshow Mel, and then when I reach Sideshow Mel, I just pause a moment, recap over the previous ones that I've just done to there. Then I move forward and say, right, okay, now I'll move forward from here. Mum in the cupboard, in the closet. So I open the closet door. Mum's in the closet, going with a Dr. What's his face? Dr. Hibbert. Mum's in the closet making Dr. Hibbert's laugh at a cliff. So I then kind of know that. Then I think, okay, open the bedroom door. Just inside the bedroom door is Nan saying, beam me up, Scotty, in Picard's chair. And then I walk into the bathroom where I see Frank Grimes driving around in Neelix's food. And then I have now moved on a few points. So I then think, okay, so I then go backwards. That is Frank Grimes driving around in Neelix's food, and just inside the bedroom is Nan saying, beam me up, Scotty, in Picard's chair. Just outside the bedroom in the cupboard, in the closet, was Mum doing Dr. Hibbert's laugh at a cliff. And then in the airing cupboard was Sideshow Mel wheeling along on a PlayStation 5. And so I kind of linked my way back to connect everything together to make sure that I'm remembering each piece. And then I keep moving forward. Okay, so from Frank Grimes, I then move to the bedside table. And at the bedside table is Jean Belcher, who is saying, state the nature of your medical emergency in a pool of worms. And then there's Tina Belcher saying, worst brick wall ever, on the bed. Then there is Sideshow Bob saying, Sideshow Bob on the other side of the bed, wearing Ned Flanders' house as a hat. And then over in the clothes kind of cupboard thing is Worf from Star Trek typing on a burger griddle. and then I recap backwards again. So there's Worf typing on a burger griddle. There is, next to the bed, Sideshow Bob wearing Ned's house on his head. Then on the bed is Tina saying worst brick wall ever, looking at the wall behind the bed, which happens to be a brick wall. It isn't, but in my head, in this moment, it looks like a brick wall. Then the other side is Jean saying state the nature of your medical emergency, standing in a pool of worms. And then in the bathroom is Frank Grimes driving around in Neelix's food. So I then have kind of worked my way back to connect everything together. So I've connected that first one to Sideshow Mel, then I've connected Sideshow Mel through to Frank Grimes. I've connected Frank Grimes through to Worf in the clothes cupboard. And then I move back forward again to get to that point again. So there's Frank Grimes, there is Jean, there is Tina, there is Sideshow Bob, there is Worf, and then I leave there. So and then next to the TV is Chris Griffin, and he is saying thank you, come again, like Apu, and he's saying that to a Christmas tree. And then I head out the room into my office, where there is Graham looking through a test result, test paper, and then on the computer desk is Data scanning with a pool cue. Then I work backwards, so there's Data here scanning with a pool cue, Graham there looking through a test result, then there is Chris, who is saying thank you, come again, to a Christmas tree. Then there is Worf, who is typing on a burger griddle. And so I work back again, and then I work forward again. Okay, so there's Worf typing on a burger griddle, Chris saying thank you, come again, to a Christmas tree, Graham saying Graham looking through a test result, Data scanning with a pool cue, and then I move on to the next one. And the next one is Chris Hemsworth holding Riker's chair. And then there is my brother Justin, and he is listening through Geordie LaForge's visor. Sort of instead of having it on his eyes that way, he's got it on his head as if he's trying to listen through it like headphones. And then in the bathroom is Grandad stirring the bath with a giant chicken in the bath, and then in the living room on their own is Quagmire. And then I just work backwards: Quagmire, Grandad, Justin, Chris Hemsworth, Data. And then I work forward, right, so there is Data, Chris Hemsworth, Justin, Grandad, Quagmire. And then I think, right, let's do a run through, make sure I know this. So I sort of think, right, there's Quagmire here on his own in the living room. Then there is Grandad doing that there. And so I work all my way back, all the way to the beginning, back to Grandpa at the very beginning, where he is sword fighting on the stage. And then I work forward again one more time, just to make sure I've definitely got it. And once I get to Quagmire, I think, right, I've definitely got it. Now I can probably say it out loud. The challenge is that it's still hard to say it out loud and remember. I get so tied with names and suits and things like that, and sometimes I try and rush a bit or whatever. So that's what I'm doing. And as I've said, I'm not particularly visual. I struggle with seeing anything in my mind's eye. So when I'm doing this, what makes me take a bit longer is that I do a lot of it trying to paint the picture verbally, almost like using words instead of images. So I kind of tell myself, I walk in the door, and just inside the door, almost like a whole story, I walk in the door, and just inside the door is Grandpa Simpson sword fighting on a stage. And he is stationary, so he's just sat in a chair, but he's sword fighting on the stage, and I sort of say to myself, ching, 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 as if it's the sound of swords bashing against each other. And then I move on to... so I try and sort of think, right, that is what's happening there. And I'm saying it, not visualising it. So when I recall, I'm trying to recall the kind of story words, as it were. Then I move on to, there is Reverend Lovejoy. And Reverend Lovejoy is shooting perspex. So I just imagine that there's some perspex somewhere and in that bit of corridor, and that Reverend Lovejoy is there kind of shooting it, and I imagine I sort of almost tell myself in words, a bit like how I would do my sleep meditations where I describe things in a lot of detail. I would sort of tell myself in words what is happening to Reverend Lovejoy as he's kind of pulling the gun and moving back, and so I'm kind of telling myself, like I do the sleep meditations, but in my own head to myself, that Reverend Lovejoy is shooting that perspex, and the gun is kind of slapping onto his shoulder with each fire, and the sound rings out, and there's the sound of it striking the perspex when the shot strikes the perspex, etc. And so I'm kind of telling myself these things, and then I move on to the third one of Cleveland Brown is reading Seven of Nine's outfit. And so I have a sense of, okay, so he is sat down at the desk we've got in the corridor. He's sat down at that desk, and he has the outfit on a mannequin, and the mannequin's in front of him, and he's reading off the label on the outfit and trying to read maybe the washing instructions or something. And so I sort of talk about, in my head, I'm talking about him leaning in and pulling the sort of the label so that it's facing him, and having to read that and look closely at that. And so I'm telling myself this as a story almost, so that I can remember it. And then I'm working through to the next stage. And so I'm doing that through the whole thing. And that's how I'm then trying to remember the entire 52 cards. So right now, I'm still confident that I can probably tell you what all 52 cards are. And until I probably go through and do this again with different cards, so that every space around my flat has different cards associated with it, or different chunks of story associated with it, this is how I would do it. So for me, a lot of the memory stuff that I do has been around storytelling. When I started working in children's homes, they said early on that there are two tests, one of policies and procedures, one of rights and responsibilities, I think they were, and that you got £250 for passing each of the tests, so £500 in total. I think it was that amount. And that they expect all staff to take the first test within the first 3 months of employment, hopefully pass it in the first 3 months of employment, and that they will have passed both tests within the first 6 months of employment. So me being me and seeing it as, oh, that's £500 of easy money, I could do with that money now. So and that was about half a month's worth of wages, that £500. So I looked at the folder, the big folder for the policies and procedures, and went through that and thought, well, this is all kind of logical. It was things like, what do you do if a child is missing, and that sort of stuff. So I thought that's quite an easy one to pass. And so I booked it in straight away and took it at the end of that week, I think it was, maybe the Monday or something the week after, and passed it straight away. So pretty much about a week later, a week into my employment, I had passed the first test. The second test, I looked at that and thought, oh, this is facts and figures, and my brain just doesn't work in a way to remember that kind of information very well. It remembers things in its own order, how it wants to remember it. It doesn't remember arbitrary things like what date is the Children's Act or something like that. So for that, what I did was I created a story. So I booked the test in straight away, so that I was taking the test in my second week of employment. So I booked it in the second I had completed and passed the first test. And so I booked it in for the end of the second week and thought, right, I've got to learn this straight away. So I turned the entire policies and procedures into a story. So I told a story about a child and gave it a year of when this story started, and did some backstory to give it a year for some of the past stuff, and then took it forward to the age that the child got on an aeroplane, which is one of the things that was in the policy and procedures around what ages can children do different things. And so there was things like, what age can a child fly, what age can on their own, what age can a child own a rifle, I think it is, what age, what does PACE stand for, Police and Criminal Evidence Act, what does PACE stand for. There was all these different bits of information to learn, and so I literally just turned the entire policies and procedures, rights and responsibilities folder, all the information that was in it, the 100 pages or whatever, into a story. And that was how I remembered all the information. And then when I came to do the test, I just worked through, you had an hour or something to take the test. I went through all the questions I could know the answer for really quickly, and then went through where I had to work my way through story stages. I would stop at a question and think, all right, let's go through the story stage until I get to that answer. And I'd work my way through the story in my mind, similar to what I just did here in relation to memorising the cards. I'd work through the story, get to that point, and then remember, that's what happens at that point. And so within 2 weeks, I'd passed both tests and made myself £500. And then a memo came around our work saying that I was the only person who had taken the second test, and I was a new member of staff. So I suddenly became an unpopular member of staff among a lot of people, because the management was saying, the rest of you need to take these tests and pass them, because if a new person can do it, you need to do it, given you're supposed to have done it in the first 3 months of your employment for one of them, the first 6 months of your employment for the second one. And I had done them both already, and there were staff who'd been there years and not done either one. But with a colleague of mine, she wanted to know how I did it, and so I taught her the same thing. I taught her the story I had used, and we tweaked it a bit to suit her, but we created essentially a story like I had done for me, for her, so that she could remember it. And then when she did her management training, I taught her the same thing again then. I turned her management training stuff, all the information she had to learn and memorise, I turned it into a story, similar to what I do on my channel doing sleep meditations, where I just take a whole bunch of information and I create a story with random words. I did exactly the same thing, essentially as a way of memorising those random words. So potentially with my sleep meditations, I can work my way through. It's not quite how I do it, and I'd do it slightly differently if I was doing it with this intention, but I can work my way through and think, so that bit was because that word twins was suggested, and this bit is because the word cat was suggested, and this bit is because the word meteor was suggested. And so I can work my way through, and all the words I've integrated into the story, once I kind of go through and start the story and think, I know the story now, I can then go through it and potentially tell you the words that had been suggested to create that story. And they are just random words. So I am memorising essentially a random list of words because I'm doing the sleep meditations. If I choose to do it in that way and kind of go over the sleep meditation maybe a second time just to remember what it was that I did. So not listen to the sleep meditation, but actually me go through my words again, kind of creating that again, working through that sleep meditation back to back almost. So this stuff can be really helpful. Here it was just applied to memorise 52 cards using person, action, object, but things like using a memory palace and creating different memory palaces and journeys and things like turning things into stories, turning things into scenes, discrete scenes, like a scene involving a person, an action, an object, can help you to memorize vast amounts of information. And then if you go over it and go over it again later that day, a few hours later, go over it again perhaps a few hours after that, and then go over it again 24 hours later, and then 24 hours after that, 24 hours after that, and then go over it a week later, a week after that, a week after that, and then go over it a month later, a month after that, a month after that, you very quickly and easily memorize all of that work. The other one is putting it all onto mind maps, and so there's lots of memory stuff I've used and lots of stuff that will come out of the training with Dr. David Lewis. But if you're interested in any other stuff like mind maps and things and how I've used those sort of things to memorize, like I have, for example, I did a job where I had to learn psychodynamic psychotherapy, and I was doing an MA with the Tavistock Institute as part of the job. And so I just took like 10 books on that I had to learn the contents of, and in one afternoon I had created a mind map of the bulk of the content from those 10 books. So I could look at the one mind map and I could then guide you through the information that was in 10 separate books, all in one afternoon. These are big books. They were like, 300, 400, 500 page books, not tiny books. And I was able to do that so that I could then use one mind map as a way of guiding my way around the mind map to keep reminding myself about the content. So I'd work my way around the mind map on later that afternoon, and then later that evening, and then the next day, a couple of times the next day, the day after that, and I'd keep going through the mind map, working my way around it, thinking, right, what does that mean? What's that information? And I could then go through the mind map a week later, a couple of weeks later, 3 weeks later, a month later, then every month, and then every other month. And it would just end up being like, when I look at the mind map, I just know what it all means, and I could tell you there and then, oh yeah, that means that, that's this, that's that. And it helps me to then have retained a lot of that information, but also when I forget the information, like years and years, perhaps decades later, as it would be now if I looked at it now, I can look at it and instantly, from looking at that mind map, instantly recall, oh yeah, that means this, that was that information, and I can instantly recall it and very quickly get back learning, oh yeah, I know that information again, like a quick revision session just from the mind map. So I used to do that with books. I would take like 10 books on a subject and I would do a mind map that ends up being all of those 10 books content onto one image, and then I'd use that one image as the thing that stimulates my kind of memory to all of that knowledge, because we're generally better at learning and in that way than we are trying to generally come up with just facts. So if any of this has been helpful or interesting, and this little bit that's done at the end here, my camera overheated and shut off, and so I've just had to refilm this. If any of this is interesting or helpful in any way, or you've got any questions, feel free to put the questions below. But if you want to know anything else and want us to cover anything else on our channel, feel free to just drop us a message in the comments saying, oh, it'd be great if you could cover mind maps, it'd be great if you could cover that memory technique or this one, or if you could cover more about that, or whatever it happens to be. This channel is obviously all about kind of self-help, personal development, psychology, all that kind of area. So whatever we can do to help, it's helpful if we know what people would like. And so if you want obviously more of what we do, check out the other stuff that's on the channel and the playlists and what have you. But also feel free to subscribe so you don't miss anything in the future. So thank you for watching, and thank you if you've made it this far into the video.